There's one thing that will determine whether people respect you or dismiss you, whether they trust you or doubt you, whether they see you as strong or weak. And it's not your job, your money, or even your talent. It's your ability to control your emotions. Think about it. How quickly can someone make you angry? How easily can they frustrate you? How fast can they pull you out of character? Because the moment another person can push your buttons, they own you. They own your mood, your energy, and your power. We live in a world where people are constantly watching how you react. They're testing you, sometimes without even realizing it. When you get angry at the slightest insult, when you break down at the first sign of pressure, when you explode just because something didn't go your way, you're sending a loud message. I am not in control of myself. And if you're not in control of yourself, how can anyone else respect you? Respect is not about demanding it with your words. Respect is about showing it through your discipline. The person who can stay calm in chaos, who can keep their composure while others lose their heads, that's the person people follow. That's the person people admire. That's the person who earns respect without even asking for it. The question is, are you that person? Or have you been giving your power away every time your emotions take over? There is one skill that separates people who are respected from those who are dismissed. It isn't how much money you make. It isn't the title attached to your name. It isn't your education, your family background, or your achievements. Respect is not something you buy, and it is not something you demand. Respect is something you earn. And the fastest way to lose it, or to gain it, comes down to how well you control your emotions. Think about the people you respect the most in your own life. They are not the ones who scream the loudest, who throw tantrums, or who get offended at every little thing. They are not the ones who are easily provoked, constantly snapping at others, or acting impulsively in the heat of the moment. No. The people you respect are usually the ones who remain calm under pressure. They think before they speak. They don't let others dictate their behavior. They carry themselves with composure, even when the situation around them is falling apart. That's because emotional control is a language all its own. It communicates strength, maturity, and confidence without ever needing to raise a voice. Now let's flip the script. Imagine someone who can't control their emotions. Every small disagreement turns into an argument. Every minor setback leads to a meltdown. Every insult is taken personally, and every frustration is turned outward. You don't trust that kind of person with responsibility because you know they'll lose their cool the moment things get difficult. You don't confide in that person with your problems because you know they'll react instead of respond. You don't look at that person as strong, even if they are talented, skilled, or intelligent, because strength without discipline is weakness. This is why emotional control is directly tied to respect. Because respect is not about being feared or about intimidating others. True respect comes when people look at you and realize this person cannot be shaken easily. It's when they know you will not be manipulated by anger, by fear, by pressure, or by drama. It's when they understand that you are not going to fold every time life gets tough. People respect stability. They respect consistency. They respect those who can stand in the storm without being blown away. Think about the last time you lost control of your emotions. Maybe you snapped at someone you love. Maybe you said something in anger that you didn't mean. Maybe you overreacted in a situation and later regretted it. In that moment, what happened to the respect others had for you? It dropped, because when you lose control of yourself, you hand over control to someone else. Whoever can provoke you owns you. Whoever can trigger you leads you. And if someone else can lead you by your emotions, then you have already lost. This is why emotional control is not optional. It is essential. In relationships, it determines whether your partner sees you as dependable or unstable. In friendships, it determines whether your friends trust you or avoid you. In the workplace, it determines whether your colleagues see you as a leader or just another voice adding to the chaos. Emotional control is not about suppressing how you feel. It's about mastering how you express it. Some people think strength is about fighting back at every insult, or showing anger to prove they won't be disrespected. But the truth is, anger doesn't earn respect, it loses it. Anyone can get angry. Anyone can shout, curse, or explode. That takes no strength. What takes real strength is keeping your composure when every part of you wants to break. What takes real strength is standing your ground calmly, refusing to give someone else the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. That's how you win. People are always watching how you handle yourself. They notice the little things. They notice how you respond to criticism. They notice how you deal with pressure. They notice if you panic, if you get flustered, if you let frustration show. And the truth is, whether you realize it or not, people are deciding in those moments how much respect you deserve. You may not hear it, you may not see it, but the way you carry yourself emotionally is speaking for you louder than your words ever will. The problem is, many of us were never taught emotional control. We were told to calm down as kids, but no one ever showed us how. We were told not to be angry, but no one explained what to do with anger when it rises. So we grow up thinking that expressing every emotion is natural, that letting people see every reaction makes us real. But here's the truth. Being real doesn't mean being reckless. Being authentic doesn't mean being uncontrolled. And if you want to be respected, you cannot afford to be reckless with your emotions. Respect is built in moments when you could lose control, but choose not to. When someone insults you and you respond with dignity instead of rage. When life throws pressure at you and you breathe through it instead of breaking down. When people expect you to argue but you remain silent, and in that silence you carry more power than words ever could. That is how you train people to respect you. And let me be clear, controlling your emotions doesn't mean you don't feel them. It doesn't mean you bury your anger, ignore your sadness, or deny your frustration. It means you master them. You feel them, but you don't let them control you. You acknowledge them, but you decide when and how to express them. Because emotions are signals, not commands. They tell you something is wrong, but they don't have the right to dictate your actions unless you give them permission. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, the next time life tests you, the next time you feel your emotions rising, remember this: respect is on the line. The way you handle yourself in those moments will determine how others see you, how they treat you, and how much they trust you. Your emotions can either make you look strong or make you look weak. They can either build respect or destroy it. The choice is always in your hands. That's why emotional control is not just a skill, it's a form of power. And if you want respect, if you want influence, if you want to walk through life with authority, then you must master yourself first. Because the person who masters their emotions masters their world. There is always a price to pay when you lose control of your emotions. It may not seem obvious in the moment, but every time you explode in anger, every time you break down under pressure, every time you let someone push you into acting out of frustration, you are paying with something valuable. Your credibility, your relationships, your peace, and your respect. The cost of losing control is far greater than the temporary relief you feel when you vent or lash out. Think about how it plays out in everyday life. Imagine being in a workplace meeting. Someone challenges your idea, and instead of staying composed, you snap back. In that moment, you may feel justified, even powerful, because you defended yourself. But what happens in the minds of the people watching? They don't remember the details of your argument. They remember your outburst. They don't see strength. They see instability. They don't walk away respecting you. They walk away questioning whether you can handle pressure. That single reaction can overshadow months of hard work and competence, because people remember how you made them feel, not just what you said. And when you lose control, you make people feel unsafe around your emotions. Now shift the scene to a relationship. You're with someone you care about, but every time you get upset, instead of communicating, you raise your voice, slam doors, or shut down completely. At first, they may forgive it. They may say, "You were just upset," but over time, that pattern erodes trust. They begin to wonder, can I talk to this person without them exploding? Can I bring up difficult topics without a fight? Can I rely on them to handle conflict maturely, slowly? The foundation of respect in that relationship starts to crumble. Love may remain, but respect begins to fade. And without respect, even love cannot survive for long. And what about friendships? When you're the person who always reacts emotionally, who takes everything personally, who turns small misunderstandings into big confrontations, your friends may stop coming to you. They may start holding back, avoiding sensitive topics, or even distancing themselves altogether. Not because they don't care, but because your inability to control yourself drains them. People don't want to walk on eggshells around someone they respect. Respect grows when people feel safe in your presence. Safe to be honest, safe to disagree, safe to trust you with their thoughts. If you can't control your emotions, people eventually stop giving you that trust. The cost of losing control also shows up in your own life, even when no one else is around. Every time you let your emotions take the driver's seat, you make decisions you later regret. You spend money you didn't need to spend because you were stressed. You eat or drink things you didn't want because you were upset. You say words you can't take back because you were angry. You burn bridges you later wish you hadn't because you reacted in the heat of the moment. Those actions create consequences that linger long after the emotion itself fades. Anger cools. Sadness passes. Frustration lifts. But the damage left behind stays. And here's the deeper truth. People lose respect for you when you can't control your emotions. But even worse, you lose respect for yourself. You wake up the next day replaying the moment in your head, wishing you had handled it differently. You regret the words you spoke, the reaction you gave, the weakness you showed. You look at yourself in the mirror and think, why did I let them get to me like that? Why did I let myself lose control? Over time, if this pattern continues, you begin to feel powerless in your own life. You start to believe that you can't change, that you're just emotional, that this is who you are. But deep down, you know better. You know you were meant to be stronger than your impulses. And every time you lose control, you chip away at your own self-respect. The cost of losing control is also that people learn how to manipulate you. Once someone sees what triggers you, once they know which buttons to push, they can lead you anywhere they want. They can provoke you into saying things that discredit you. They can frustrate you until you abandon your plan. They can distract you with drama until you forget your goals. The person who cannot control their emotions is like a puppet, and everyone else becomes the puppeteer. And make no mistake, manipulators seek out people who are emotionally unstable because they know it's easy to take their power. There's also a spiritual and mental cost. When you let your emotions run wild, you live in a constant cycle of reaction instead of intention. You're always responding to what's around you instead of choosing your own path. That drains your energy, clouds your judgment, and steals your peace. You live exhausted because every little thing becomes a battle. And the saddest part is, most of those battles are not worth fighting. Most of the things that steal your emotions are not even worth your time. But when you lack control, you fight anyway, and you lose yourself in the process. The cost of losing control is far too expensive, and yet most people pay it every single day. They lose respect from others. They lose trust in relationships. They lose opportunities at work. They lose peace of mind, and they lose belief in themselves. And all because they never learned how to master the one thing that matters most, their own reactions. But the good news is, you don't have to keep paying that price. You can decide today that your emotions will no longer rule your life. You can decide that you will not hand over your power every time someone offends you, frustrates you, or challenges you. You can decide that you are worth more than the destruction that comes from losing control. Because while there is always a cost for losing control, there is also a reward for mastering it. And that reward is power does not always roar. Power does not always show its strength in loud voices, clenched fists, or sharp words. Real power, the kind that leaves people stunned and silent, is composure. It is the ability to stay steady when everything else around you is shaking. It is the discipline to keep your voice, even when someone is yelling in your face. It is the strength to breathe and think clearly when every part of you wants to explode. Composure is not about pretending you don't feel emotions. You are human. You will feel them. You will feel anger, disappointment, fear, even sadness. But composure is about making sure those emotions don't become your master. Because when you lose composure, you hand the keys of your life to someone else. But when you remain composed, you hold on to your authority. People cannot play with you because they realize quickly that no matter what they throw at you, you will not break. Think about the people you respect most. They are not the ones who panic. They are not the ones who lash out at the first sign of conflict. They are not the ones who scream to get their way. The people you respect are the ones who remain steady. They may be firm. They may be strong, but they are calm. When chaos hits, everyone turns to them because they trust that composure will make the right decision. When you walk into a room with composure, you shift the atmosphere without even opening your mouth. People notice it. They may not be able to put it into words, but they feel it. There is a quiet authority in someone who does not need to prove themselves with volume or anger. It's magnetic. People lean in. They listen more. They think twice before disrespecting you. Why? Because your composure tells them you are in command. You are not reactive. You are intentional. Now think about the opposite. Imagine someone who constantly overreacts. They get offended easily. They lash out emotionally. They sulk when things don't go their way. Do you take that person seriously? Do you see them as strong? Or do you see them as unstable, unpredictable, and weak? That is the difference composure makes. Without composure, you repel respect. With composure, you attract it. Here's something most people never realize. Composure makes you unpredictable in the best way. When others know they can trigger you, they will exploit it. They'll push your buttons and sit back to watch you self-destruct. But when you are composed, when you don't give them that reaction, you take away their weapon. Suddenly, they don't know how to deal with you. They can't manipulate you. They can't control you. They can't play you. You disarm them with silence, with calmness, with your ability to remain unmoved. And this doesn't just apply to conflict. Composure gives you the upper hand in every aspect of life: negotiations, leadership, relationships, even personal growth. The composed person listens before speaking. They analyze before acting. They make decisions not out of impulse but out of clarity. That is why they end up with better results, non-er relationships, and greater opportunities. In leadership, composure is everything. People don't follow the loudest voice. They follow the calmest one. They follow the one who makes them feel secure, even in the storm. And you don't need a fancy title to lead. You can lead in your family, in your community, at work. But no one will trust your leadership if you crumble under pressure. The leader with composure becomes the anchor that others hold on to when waves are crashing. In relationships, composure creates respect. Too many people damage their connections because they can't control their emotional outbursts. They slam doors, throw words they can never take back, and later regret what they said in the heat of the moment. But the person who remains composed communicates with strength and clarity. They don't need to raise their voice to be heard. They don't need to lash out to make a point. Their calmness carries more weight than shouting ever could. Even in your personal life, composure is the difference between living in constant chaos and building a life of stability. When challenges hit, and they will, your emotions will want to take over. Fear will want to paralyze you. Anger will want to blind you. Despair will want to break you. But composure allows you to step back, breathe, and remind yourself, I am still in control. This is temporary. I will not let this moment define me. That mindset is what separates those who move forward from those who collapse. Understand this. Composure is a skill. It is not something you are born with. It is something you build. It comes from practicing self-awareness, from catching yourself before you react, from learning to pause before you speak. Every time you hold your composure when you could have lost it, you grow stronger. Every time you stay calm when you want to scream, you sharpen your discipline. Over time, this becomes your natural state. You become unshakable. And there is nothing more powerful than a person who cannot be shaken. That person earns respect without asking for it. That person gains trust without begging for it. That person becomes a force to be reckoned with. So the next time you're tempted to react, remember this: composure is not weakness. It is the highest demonstration of strength. Anyone can lose their cool. Anyone can blow up. Anyone can let emotions take control. But very few can stand tall, breathe deep, and stay calm while the world tries to break them. That is real power. That is the power of composure. Controlling your emotions is not about shutting them down or pretending they don't exist. It's about mastering them so they serve you instead of sabotaging you. Because the truth is, your emotions are powerful. They can fuel you, guide you, and protect. But if you don't discipline them, they can also destroy your relationships, damage your reputation, and limit your opportunities. The difference between people who succeed and those who crumble often comes down to this: one knows how to harness emotions, while the other lets emotions harness them. So how do you take control? How do you build that inner discipline so you're not a puppet of your feelings? The first step is self-awareness. You cannot control what you don't recognize. Too many people move through life without ever pausing to understand why they react the way they do. They get angry, but they don't ask themselves, what triggered this? Why did that comment cut so deep? Why do I always react this way? The more you pay attention to your emotional patterns, the more you take back authority over them. Self-awareness is like turning the light on in a dark room. Suddenly you see what's really there. The next strategy is learning to pause. And this is where most people fail. They believe that if they feel something, they must act on it right away. That is emotional immaturity. Strength comes in the pause. When you take a breath before responding, when you count to 10 before you speak, when you walk away for a moment to collect your thoughts, you are buying yourself power. Because in that pause, logic can step in, perspective can step in, and the response you give will be a choice, not a reaction. Another powerful strategy is reframing the situation. Many times our emotions explode because we interpret events in the most personal way possible. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you think, they disrespected me. Someone criticizes your work and you hear, I'm not good enough. Well, what if you shifted the perspective? What if the person in traffic was rushing to the hospital? What if the criticism was not an attack, but feedback you could use to improve? When you reframe, you strip the situation of its power to control you. You choose to see it in a way that strengthens you instead of weakens you. You also need to practice emotional detachment. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging to things you can't control. So much of our emotional chaos comes from trying to control outcomes, people, and circumstances that are not ours to control. You can't control if someone likes you. You can't control if life throws challenges your way. But you can control how you respond. Detachment is saying, I will not tie my peace to things outside my hands. I will focus on my choices, my effort, my reaction. That mindset alone will free you from endless frustration. Physical discipline is another underestimated tool for emotional control. Your body and emotions are directly connected. When you are exhausted, when you've been eating junk, when you don't exercise, your emotions will spiral faster. But when you strengthen your body, you strengthen your mind. Movement, training, and healthy routines teach you to push through discomfort. And that skill carries over to your emotions. If you can push through the pain of a workout, you can push through the urge to snap at someone. Physical discipline breeds mental discipline. Surroundings also matter. If you are constantly around negative, dramatic, and chaotic people, don't be surprised when your emotions mirror theirs. Emotional control is harder when you are drowning in environments that thrive on drama. So, protect your space. Choose wisely who you give your time and energy to. Surround yourself with people who are composed, who elevate your mindset, who inspire you to stay grounded. Their energy will influence yours more than you realize. And let's not forget one of the simplest but most powerful strategies, silence. You do not always have to react. You do not always have to prove your point. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is say nothing. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It keeps people guessing. It keeps you in control. It shows that you are not desperate to be heard, because your actions and presence already speak for you. Now, none of this means you will never feel the urge to lose control. You will. You're human. But the difference lies in practice. You don't wait until the storm hits to practice composure. You prepare for it daily. That means setting small challenges for yourself. It means catching yourself when you're about to react and choosing differently. It means training your mind the same way you train a muscle, through repetition, through consistency, through discipline. Over time, you'll notice something remarkable. Situations that once triggered you no longer have the same effect. You've built your strength, you've built your emotional armor. And remember, the goal is not to become cold or robotic. The goal is to feel deeply but respond wisely. To be passionate without being reckless. To be assertive without being explosive. To be strong without being unstable. Emotional control doesn't take away your humanity. It gives you mastery over it. When you implement these strategies, self-awareness, pausing, reframing, detachment, physical discipline, guarding your environment, and mastering silence, you transform yourself into someone who is unshakable, someone who cannot be manipulated, someone who commands respect. The moment they walk into the room, that is what makes you powerful. That is what makes you respected. Because at the end of the day, people don't remember every word you said. They remember how you carried yourself. And if you carried yourself with composure, with discipline, with control, they will never forget it. That is the true mark of strength. That is the kind of power that cannot be faked. Only earned. True strength is not loud. It doesn't need to scream. It doesn't need to make a scene. It doesn't need to demand attention. Real strength, the kind that lasts, is silent power. It's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't have to prove themselves, because their very presence commands respect. It's the calm in the storm, the composure under pressure, the unshakable stability when everything around them is falling apart. Too often, people confuse noise with power. They think shouting makes them strong, that anger makes them respected, that intimidation makes them feared. But look closer. The ones who always need to be the loudest are usually the weakest. They lack control, so they compensate with noise. They lack discipline, so they cover it up with aggression. They are not respected. They are tolerated and often avoided. Because people know that kind of power collapses the moment it's challenged. Silent power is different. It doesn't depend on chaos. It doesn't depend on proving anything to anyone. Silent power is rooted in self-control, in knowing that you are not ruled by emotions, that no one can easily push you off balance. That's why silent power is rare, because it requires mastery. It requires discipline. It requires choosing strength when it would be easier to give in to weakness. Think about the people who've left the deepest impression on you. Chances are, they weren't the ones who exploded in anger or lost their cool. They were the ones who carried themselves with calm authority. They walked into a room and didn't have to say a word. You felt their presence. That is what composure gives you. That is what emotional control creates. A power so undeniable. It doesn't need to advertise itself. And this kind of power isn't just about commanding respect from others. It's about respecting yourself. When you control your emotions, you respect your own boundaries. You refuse to let your anger make decisions you'll regret. You refuse to let fear paralyze your progress. You refuse to let sadness steal your strength. That self-respect builds confidence. And confidence, when paired with composure, is unstoppable. The world will always test you. People will provoke you. Circumstances will frustrate you. Life will throw storms at you again and again. You cannot control the storm, but you can control yourself in the storm. And when people see you unshaken, when they see you standing tall, calm, and collected, they cannot help but respect you. They may not like you. They may not agree with you, but they will respect you because deep down everyone recognizes strength when they see it. Silent power is not about saying nothing. It's about saying what matters when it matters and with control. It's about understanding that timing is everything. Sometimes silence itself is the most powerful statement you can make. Sometimes refusing to react says more about your strength than any words ever could. Because silence cannot be twisted. Silence cannot be used against you. Silence forces others to sit with their own behavior, their own guilt, their own noise, while you remain untouchable. But let's be clear, silent power doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It doesn't mean suppressing your feelings until they eat you alive. No, silent power is active, intentional, and strong. It's knowing when to speak up and when to stay silent. It's having the discipline to hold your ground without losing your temper. It's the ability to express yourself with clarity and calmness in a way that makes people listen. Because they know you are not reacting, you are responding. Imagine living your life with this kind of control. Imagine walking into every situation knowing that no matter what happens, you will not lose yourself. That no insult, no betrayal, no obstacle has the power to shake your composure. That no matter how chaotic things get, you will always remain the calm in the middle of the storm. That is the life of someone who chooses silent power. That is the life of someone who commands respect wherever they go. And here's the truth. People may forget your words. They may forget your actions, but they will never forget how you carried yourself. They will never forget that you were the one who kept it together when everyone else lost it. They will never forget that you were the one who remained calm when others panicked. They will never forget that you were the one who led with strength, not with noise. That memory alone will earn you respect long after the moment has passed. So the challenge is this. Stop giving your emotions the wheel. Stop letting anger, fear, and insecurity dictate your life. Stop proving your strength with noise, and start proving it with control. Build the discipline to pause. Train your mind to choose composure. Practice silence when silence is more powerful than words. Strengthen your body so your mind can stand firm. And above all, remember that real strength is not about showing the world how loud you can be. It's about showing yourself how steady you can remain. When you embrace silent power, you stop chasing respect. Respect chases you. People see it, they feel it, they know it when you walk in the room, and that kind of respect cannot be faked, cannot be demanded, and cannot be stolen. It is earned through composure, discipline, and control. At the end of the day, storms will always come. Life will always test you. But when you've built silent power, when you've mastered yourself, no storm can take you down. That is true strength. That is real respect. And that is the kind of person who cannot be ignored. At the end of the day, your emotions are either your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. If you can't control them, someone else will. But if you master them, no one can take your power. Respect is not given to the loudest person in the room. It is given to the one who stays calm when others lose control, the one who holds steady when everyone else breaks. So the next time life tests you, the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this. True strength doesn't shout. It doesn't rage. It doesn't crumble. True strength is silent power. Calm, steady, and unshakable. And when you live with that kind of strength, respect will follow you everywhere you go.